What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pod and Long. Hello, friends. It's Ryan. It's great to have you with us. And I'm here with a man who is back. He's refreshed. He's got his flamingo. He's ready.
Right.
He's ready for the offseason. It's Megastar Mark.
Listen, I have obviously the best thing in the background. There's nobody here who has anything more important in the background of their video shot than I do right now. So let me just kick it over to What happened?
What happened? Killer Greg 17 has retired.
Yes.
He's retired from broadcasting.
Right.
He
has things to do like getting married and running a business.
Running a business.
What a loser.
So what happens when we love you, Greg?
We do. Absolutely love
you. You can hear him on our other show. He's still going to be on there. I'm going to force him to do it no matter what. But what do you do when you lose a top player? You go out and get a big free agent.
Damn right.
Big. And boy, did we spend big. Here's our third man. It's Mr. Drew Schiavi. Welcome.
Pleased to be here. This, by the way, is actually chocolate.
Oh, delicious. Chocolate. I thought it was like you want it for porn or something. I mean, do they give out they probably want to do that. There's probably like a porny, right? I'm guessing some sort of award that you would get. Like,
yeah. It's not called that.
I mean, listen, there's an award show for everything. There's got to be an award show for that, right?
I'm Googling it. You guys talk amongst yourself while I look it up.
Oh, boy.
Why does every show begin with dirty XXX material?
It's actually just called the AVN Awards, and it's been around for 39 years. Huh.
Very respectable. Very respectable.
Can we get on that? Like sponsored or something?
Sponsored by them or become a nominee? What are you trying to get here?
I don't know, but there's probably hookers in that van. Only Drew will get that. Only Drew will get that joke.
Yes. Also, this means nothing except the realization of how old I am. That means I'm the same age as the AVN Award.
Yes. Perfect.
That signifies nothing other than that it's true.
At least for a couple more.
And now when you introduce yourself and give your age, you need to say that every time.
AVN Awards years
Awards, baby.
How old are you? Well, let me answer your question with a question. Do you know how old?
39 years. Oh. Okay. You're one of those. Got it.
Oh. All right. So we're talking the off season.
Yes.
All the things a lot has happened. So many things have happened. Players have moved. Some dumb stuff has happened. Darkness retreats were completed. So we got to start with the Poochies.
Yes.
Category is Poochies. Starting with the ultimate Poochie, Mr. Aaron Rodgers.
Well, let's talk about this real quick. I don't want to interrupt you, Ryan, but we did lose a Poochie because of this offseason. I mean, we lost.
Is he gone though?
Tom Brady retiring. I mean, maybe, hopefully we never have to deal with this man again, at least till he gets in the broadcast booth and annoys me for another fucking year. He is taking a year off though, right? We found that out.
Yes, he's not going in right away.
Thank God.
So, yes, he's gone. We talked about that, I think, on our last one.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the ultimate Poochie is gone. The Tom Brady sad boy boat will remain, though. Sponsored by TB12 sad boy boat.
Looking ahead, is there any chance that he is not an awful broadcaster?
No, my God.
He's going to be bad.
He's going to be horrible. Do you want to hear about like every story that Wes Welker ever did? Because we're going to get that.
Right.
Talk to me about Kevin Falk more, Tom Brady. That's what I want to hear.
I don't think he'll ever do it. I don't think he's ever going to do it. That's my guess.
Never do what?
Wait, what?
He's never going to do it. Like, Brady will never broadcast.
No,
he's going to take this year off and then...
For the amount of money they signed him for, he better do it. The breach of contract lawsuit would be significant.
But how is he getting away with not doing it this year? Isn't that breach of contract, technically? If I sign you to a deal and you're not doing it.
He had to go make that movie with Jane Fonda or whatever.
Yeah, right.
He had to get a cat. That's what he's been up to. He got a cat.
Mm-hmm.
And play football on the beach with Gronk and Julian Edelman.
Yes.
And anyway.
Even that is annoying. Like just seeing him there, I get pissed off. I just want him gone. I'm so tired of this man. I was tired in 2004 of this guy. So
true. Very true. All right, let's talk about the other Poochies, the current Poochies. Aaron Rodgers is first.
Yeah.
He went into the darkness.
Yeah.
he came out of the darkness. He went on Pat McAfee. That's where I want to go. As soon as I leave a darkness retreat, I want to go to Pat McAfee's house. He went there and had a very interesting interview where he said he wasn't going to do anything. He did like the wrestling promo thing. Like, I'm not going to, you know what? I'm here to apologize, but I'm not going to fucking apologize. Like, it was almost like that. He said he's known he wants to go to the Jets forever. Packers don't want me. It's not my fault. Packers don't want me. Discuss. He's still not a Jet, by the way. He's still not a Jet.
He said he's made his decision, right? Did I make that up?
He said he wasn't gonna say anything, but then he made his decision already.
So what are we doing? Like, are we just waiting on draft compensation? The draft is like 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
This is one of those places where we've hit a point in American sports where I think everybody believes that the leverage has tilted toward the players. And to a great degree it has. But this is one of those examples where the Packers are not compelled to do anything.
Right.
They don't have to. He's under contract.
I mean, so when do you guys think this logically come? He's going to be a Jet. I don't think there's any debate there. But like, when does this logically end?
It's got to end before the draft.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those things that happens very suddenly. But it has to end before the first round starts.
Right, because the Jets, I don't think he's going to get. I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, but do you guys hear anything about like him going for anything? Like, I heard second round. I heard like a second round draft pick this year, or maybe a second rounder next year.
Yeah, that's certainly plausible.
But like the Jets have an extra second rounder because they traded. We'll talk about some offseason moves, but they traded Elijah Moore, so they have that that extra second. That to me is the Aaron Rodgers pick. Like, why even do that if you're not going to just use that to get Aaron Rodgers and you still have now a first and a second? I think that makes great logical sense for a Jets team that has drafted extremely well the last couple of years. So they get their franchise quarterback and they get to keep those first two picks, which they're going to hit on. So I don't know why we're waiting. It drives me nuts. I thought last week during the owners meeting, GMs were there, owners were there, agents were there. I thought that was going to get done. I thought they were just going to sit in the room. We're like, hey, what do you want? Like a second rounder this year, second rounder next year? Cool. Well, get him green shit and get him over here. Green and white shit. And it didn't happen. I'm confused.
Don't be shocked if there ends up being a first round pick involved.
Dude,
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Woody Johnson steps in and does something crazy, right?
That's also plausible.
Yeah.
Also, what's the under over on number of times that Jordan Love has openly wept without explanation in the past 2 weeks? Just going about his business and just completely breaks down.
I have a feeling Jordan Love is going to be a favorite of this podcast as we move forward.
Yes.
just because of his situation. You kind of feel bad for him. You do. It's just.
I mean, his own coach was like, "Don't get too excited."
That's always good. Temper your expectations, okay?
Don't get too excited. I kind of agree.
Patrick Ramsey. That's what we're aiming for.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Do you think? What do you think about all the BS nonsense of the Jets? Like, here's your other friend. Here's another friend. We're gonna get this guy. You like him, right? What do you think about all that?
I think it's going to be hilarious when ultimately the trade doesn't happen, and then the Jets have all these guys they didn't really want, and Aaron Rodgers has to go back to Green Bay that has nobody he does want.
No,
that's the funniest outcome, right? He has to go back.
You are nominally associated with some Jets fans in your life. What's the pulse? What do they actually think about? Are they pro Aaron Rodgers? They want him?
They are living at the apex of the rainbow of not coming away with Ryan Tannehill.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Which is where my dad and my brother were 100% concerned that this was going to end there.
Listen, we had Killer Greg terrified that they were actually going to lose Ryan Tannehill, which he was happy about, but then replace him with like Carson Wentz. So
still available, Carson Wentz.
Still available, yes.
Right.
Probably the best known quarterbacks to last.
Wow.
Year. I mean,
so when was there have been some mediocre to bad first overall picks over the years.
Sure.
When was the last time that one of them just sat out on the waiver wire at the
Yeah.
quarterback position like this.
Yeah.
It's
Started
weird.
last year, you
Yeah.
know,
Right.
and that's very strange.
Yeah.
I was going to say Alex Smith, but I feel like he didn't hang on free agency for very long. Like somebody
got
got
traded.
him when they traded him. That's right. You're right.
He got
You're right.
traded.
You're right. Yep.
Right.
But
Well-
like, you know, Baker's phone keeps ringing. All those years,
Yeah.
Sam Bradford's phone kept ringing.
Right. Yeah.
Like-
Sam Bradford. Wow.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep. It is. I heard he's a shit teammate.
I've heard that too.
Yeah. Like he's just,
Yeah.
you know, the people don't want to play for him. Is just, you know, kind of ties. A little bit ties into my football Fubar induction, by the way. There's a teaser right there. So,
Look forward to that.
right.
Look forward
I'm
to
a
that.
professional here. Right, Flamingo?
I forget which NFL insider it was or who it was, but said they had said that they talked to Carson Wentz one time about the playoffs or something, and he said like, "Can't wait for it to be over" or something like that. That was his answer to something, and they were like, "What? What do you mean? Can't wait for it to be over?"
Bad answer, man.
That's not good. All right, that's Rodgers. He will be a Jet, we think.
Yes, right.
Eventually.
I do like the talent they are getting around him. I like Lazard. You know, like I think obviously Breece Hall is going to come back and he's awesome.
Right.
The
Garrett Wilson
O-line
is there.
I think is very clearly what you do in the draft. You know, first, second rounder, get a tackle. You know, get another guard, center, whatever you want, just to try to help build up the O-line. But they're in amazing shape with Rodgers in the weapons they got. You know, there's rumors about Odell. I think he'd fit in well with the Jets.
Right. I also laughed at his response, like his media critique thing that he did.
Oh yeah.
But the part where he talked about Odell, where he's like, they said my wish list is Odell. He's like, who the hell wouldn't want to play with Odell? I was like, okay, that's I agree with that. Also, a sneaky little thing, McCole Hardman. I like him a lot. I think he's a fun little piece in there.
They got him for nothing.
Yeah, right. Nobody wanted him, which is odd. But I think he's sneaky, kind of fun.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Lamar Jackson. I don't know if he's a Poochie. Is he Poochie at this point?
I don't know if he's a Poochie. I feel bad for the guy. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Like the dude is getting fucked over. You know, Drew texted me this, you know, earlier in the week. He's getting fucked over, and it's not his fault. It's the fault of a serial rapist. Like the reason he can't get his contract.
He's the first player I can think of whose earning potential has been negatively impacted by the contract of a substantively worse player.
Yes.
Like and I'm going on a limb here, but like I'm going to bend into NBA territory for a minute. You know, Juwan Howard way back in the day, Otto Porter Jr. more recently, were both given contracts in excess of $100 million. Nobody listening to this football podcast knows who either of those two players are, unless you're a Michigan basketball historian. But that didn't stop Philadelphia from acquiring James Harden in excess of $100 million. Like,
right.
Nobody was like, well, because Otto Porter had a crappy contract, we're going to give you less than that.
Yeah. Right.
True. Right.
I am at the beginning of when the Super Bowl ended, I was under the assumption he would just stay with the Ravens. They figure something out, right? They'd franchise him and they just work through it. The fact that they're bringing in like those top 4 quarterbacks for pre-draft visits, you know, you only get like 30 of those. If you really think that this might be a problem, you're going to bring in those guys just to see what you got. Right. They are doing that. I mean, this might not. I always thought he'd end up there. I don't think he will anymore. I think he might get traded or released. Hopefully not released.
Traded for Aaron Rodgers?
Hilarious.
3-team deal.
Hysterical.
Again, cut to Jordan Love weeping.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be a
Breece
thing.
Hall just like eyes just widened staring at a wall. Looks like it's Carson Wentz time.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
But yeah, it's the Lamar situation is interesting in a bunch of facets, which is one, like, this is sort of playing into the Ravens' hands, right? Like, they didn't want to give him a guaranteed deal because they were concerned about his health. Well, what happens? He plays 12 games, and then he misses the rest of the season, and he sits out the playoff game, fair or foul. He ends up not playing in the playoff game. So they're going to come back to him and say, why are we going to give you guaranteed money when you're not guaranteed to play? Like, this is sort of played into exactly what they wanted because now they can franchise him twice. and then make a decision 2 years down the road if that's what they decide to do. And the other part of this is he doesn't have an agent. So like his own, which I admire, but his own, like at some point his own hubris plays into this. You know what I mean? Like given his injury history, I know he believes that he's worth what he thinks he's worth. And he probably is.
He probably is.
But the Ravens don't think that. And if he had an agent, he would have that middle person to go, Lamar, like, this is the best deal we're going to be able to get.
Right.
You know, either take the deal or fire me and get another agent. But like, this is your best shot.
He also wouldn't be hearing those conversations. Like they have to tell him to his face,
right?
You're not reliable on the field.
No,
like,
and that's the idea of an agent.
That's
to
not
be
great
that
to
buffer,
hear.
right? To be that buffer between you and the team, so that the team president or team owner isn't be like, no, you're not worth that. Like that's tough. Like to Drew's point, that hurts your ego, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know why hasn't gotten one now at this point in this juncture. Can't imagine it would hurt him. He just lose 10% of a shit ton, whatever he's going to get paid.
This is kind of a deep cut football reference, but if you're Master P, why haven't you called Lamar Jackson yet to represent him?
Right. Because you're busy taking bumps for Barry Windham. That's why.
Oh,
that's even deeper cut.
That is a deep one.
Deep
that is the deepest of cuts. Forget about the NBA. Oh man. I don't understand the collusion part of it. Like when the Falcons say, I don't have any interest in this guy. Why? Why are you doing that? Just because you don't want to give out guaranteed contracts to anybody is the reason, I think. But
it's obvious the owners don't want this Deshaun Watson's contract to leach into any other contract. So they will do everything they can to stomp it out, even if it's for an elite player. Because you're telling me Atlanta looked at their situation and said, you know what, we're going to roll with Desmond Ridder instead of Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Like, come on, for 2 first rounders, that's it.
Right. I do tangentially, I do wonder like where the needle will move in the NFL on guaranteed contracts. Because to some degree, it feels like an inevitability. Literally every other professional sport has this, and the NFL, the most violent of sports, does not have it. And it made like, to me, I've thought about this entirely too much. To me, it's going to take some veteran dude looking for like his age 31 contract who says, rather than give me 3 years 33, give me 3 years 25, and it's 100% guaranteed.
You're saying like a smaller not like the massive contract, but like a smaller. Okay, that makes sense. Actually,
it's gonna to me like it starts with veteran guys that a playoff ready team needs, demanding a smaller guaranteed number.
Yeah,
but but when is that going to happen, or is that going to happen? I have no idea.
But that makes sense though.
Right. But does Kirk Cousins count as that? Didn't he get a fully guaranteed deal when he went to Minnesota?
Yeah, but he did, but he got a massive number.
Yeah. Did you hear, by the way, Kirk Cousins came because he's a free agent next year, and he went to the Vikings and he said like, "Hey guys, here's a prospect for you. You extend my deal 1 year and I'll take like X amount of cut to stay on the team next year." And they're like, "No."
Ooh.
They're like, "Pass.
We're gonna move on from you."
They're like, even at that low price, we're like, "Nah, we're good."
See you, Cousins. Ouch. So where does this Lamar thing end up? I think it's going to be after the draft, and it's going to be messy, whatever it is.
It already is messy, and I feel bad for Ravens fans. I feel bad for the organization. I feel bad for Lamar Jackson. I mean, nobody's really done anything wrong here. I think you can't be mad at a guy for thinking he's worth something when he won an MVP. You know,
his contract, the way he is worth that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his contract, we've talked about it before on this show, Drew, but like, when Josh Allen signed his contract 2 years ago, he should have gone, that should have been Lamar saying, all right, give me $20 million more because I won an MVP and I'll sign that contract here and there. Right. And that should have been the end of it. And the Ravens, now, once again, to put some blame on them, they didn't offer that. They should have, they could have ended it there, and they didn't. So it's just everybody here is kind of like blameless and easy to blame.
Yeah, We're stuck in the middle of Lamar correctly saying, I should be worth as much guaranteed money as Deshaun Watson because I have accomplished more.
Right.
And because I haven't done as much detriment to the league or myself.
Right.
And so he correctly asserts that. And the Ravens, on the other hand, can come back and kind of correctly assert, like, bro, Patrick Mahomes doesn't have a guaranteed contract.
Right.
Right. It's tough. All right, let's call it now. All right, we'll go around.
All right,
Is
let's go.
Lamar Jackson a Raven at the beginning of this season? Drew?
In the sense that he's on their roster?
On their
Yes.
roster. Okay.
Is he going to show up to training camp?
Yep.
Wow.
I don't blame him either.
Is there a chance that they take a quarterback in the first round to try and leverage him?
Could you imagine?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Could you imagine? That's the NFL's kind of dream right there, actually. If you want eyeballs on the draft, holy shit.
And by the way, if that happens,
yep.
If Baltimore takes a quarterback in the first round and Lamar decides, like, GFY, I'm holding out, HBO will be there with the Hard Knocks truck in like 4 minutes.
Yep.
Right.
That
still
one
up in the
moment
air.
is more entertaining than the whole Cardinals Hard Knocks season. So that's.
Oh God! Except for we got solid gold out of that
we did.
Cardinals Hard Knocks with the Joker painting.
The Joker.
We had several weeks of fun out of that.
What a nerd.
All right, moving on to off-season moves. Doesn't have to be one, but give me some of your favorite off-season moves that have happened. So a lot of player movement.
Yeah, not a lot of huge signings, I would say. Some good depth signings,
Sure.
some definitely good. I like Rashad Penny going to the Eagles. I think that's a good fit for him.
Okay.
He was averaging, like, I looked it up, his stats, just because when he signed, he's averaging the last 2 years 6 yards per carry out of the last 2 years. That's amazing. But he doesn't get the ball very often. He gets it maybe like 80, 90 times a season. He's just not a heavy deal. And in Philadelphia, he just turned 27. He's got a good 2 years left in him, I think, before that 30-year-old cliff hits. I think he's going to be a good fit there. And I think him and Hurts are really going to form a fun backfield.
He's cheap too.
Yeah, right.
What is it? $2 million or something? It was cheap.
If you were a running back, I'm sorry. If you were a free agent, nobody got anything.
It's brutal. I do like that move. I only worry about his injury history. Like, he's hurt all the time.
Yeah.
He got hurt last year. He played better than he's ever played last year, but he also got hurt last year. So
I think it's worth the risk. You roll the dice.
Yeah.
Like he's also a dynamic pass catcher, so I think him in that offense will be kind of zany and wacky. And I think the Eagles are going to have to rely on putting up some points next year because that defense got gutted.
It is shredded. Right. What about you, Drew? You got any favorite moves?
When you say favorite, do you mean for the right reasons or the wrong reasons?
Give me one for the right and give me one for the wrong. Give me one of each.
My two for the right is I really like Hargrove to the Niners.
Yes, that's a great move.
Because this is I think there's a school of thought that says don't necessarily worry about your weaknesses in free agency, double down on your strengths, and that's exactly what they've done. And there were a bunch of good defensive linemen that moved in the free agency period. And I'm usually a little bit dubious of free agency on the whole because I feel like dudes who are super talented don't hit free agency all that often. Their teams tend to lock them up. Like, we're all old enough to remember the season that Bryant Johnson had 1,000 yards for the Cardinals and he was a free agent. Everybody was like, holy crap, Bryant Johnson's a free agent. It was like, yeah, because the Cardinals feel like they're going to ride with Bolden and Fitzgerald and they're okay to let this guy go.
Right. Yep.
The straw that stirs the drink is rarely the dude to hit free agency, but there's been a bunch of interior defensive linemen, which is not a sexy position, but it can help a team make that difference. So I love Hargrove to the Niners. I really like Orlando Brown to Cincinnati, even if they overpaid for him. Because Cincinnati throughout their history has been one of those teams that I think would be content to sit back and be like, nah, we're good enough. And in this case, whoever their leadership is at this juncture clearly doesn't feel that way and continues to try and improve that team. And they got to keep Burrow upright, man. He's that guy.
Right.
Yeah, those are two great ones.
That was on my favorites. Orlando Brown.
If you want to know my favorite for the wrong reasons,
yes,
it's Jameis Winston back to the Saints.
What in the world?
because to me, like, this has played out. Like, you remember, you all knew that couple in high school that was like an awful couple. and they broke up like every 2 weeks, and they were constantly cursing at each other like, I can do better than you. No, I can do better than you. And then
Drew,
they
we
went
can
their
name
separate
names
ways.
here. You and I went to the same high school.
And then they went their separate ways, but it turned out that like nobody else could tolerate their bullshit, so they ended up back together. Like that's how the Saints and Winston have been. And so I love that, like, he's like, nah, I'm going to get out. Like, Andy Dalton's your starter now. I'm going to get out there and try free agency again. And they were like, fine, we don't want you anyway. And then it turned out nobody wanted him, and they weren't really complete without him.
Yep.
So that wedding occurred again.
Famous Jameis. That's a great one.
He's had a weird, tumultuous career, and this is just the weirdest, most tumultuous chapter in it.
It's odd too, because so many people need quarterbacks. There's like a very good chance that he could have started somewhere, as even if he like competed for the job or was a backup. Like he could have played somewhere. He could have went to Tennessee and unseated Tannehill or whatever. You know, like he could have played somewhere.
A lot of good seafood places in New Orleans, though. That's the problem.
He's back sleeping in the same rut on the mattress.
Oh God,
feels familiar.
Yep. Right. I've made this rut. Okay. So
like him and the Saints, like at this point, like they know each other's bank account numbers and stuff. Like it would be too problematic to separate now.
I hope every year he does this where he makes this big spiel about leaving and then always comes back.
Oh, that's great. Did you have another one of those, or is that?
No, that's my one.
That's a great one.
We'll talk about the Raiders when we get to my least favorite moves.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
You've only been on one episode before you took over the host roles, Drew, and you've already like made self-deprecation of the Raiders a big staple of your game here.
Gonna be a big thing.
There's a lot to deprecate.
We're gonna talk about it. Favorite move for me. We said Orlando Brown. I like that move.
Yeah.
I like the combo platter of what the Dolphins did defensively. Like Vic Fangio, trade for Jalen Ramsey. Maybe not the greatest guy in the world, but like he'll be effective in that defense. And they signed a couple other pieces. Like I kind of like.
Yeah, they got that linebacker Long who I like. He was really good.
Yeah,
right. I like what they've done on that side of the ball. They were pretty good. They have Bradley Chubb from last year. Like they have something here, I think, with that defense. I don't know what the hell's going to happen with Tua, but
8 and 9.
Yeah, probably going to be 8 and 9. But I still like that.
Sorry, Dolphin fans, though. You're good. I gotta say it. Sorry.
Who's their backup now? It's on
Mike fucking White.
Fucking White. I like that move too.
Yeah,
I kind of like their offseason.
Yeah.
Darren Waller trading to the Giants. Fucking awesome move by the Giants. I don't know what the hell the Raiders are doing. We'll get to that in a minute, I'm sure. But love that move for the Giants. That's a great piece for Daniel Jones. I kind of actually like, I know we make fun of Daniel Jones, but like, what are they going to do? What were they going to do with him? Like, they weren't going to let him walk and like try to get another quarterback. They had to bring him back. Brought him back on a fairly okay contract. They were able to bring back Barkley. Try to run it back. Try one more time. You know, I like those moves for the Giants.
We're all very pro Dayball here, so you know.
Right. Gotta love Dayball at bar.
Yeah.
All right. Any others? Any other favorites? I think we kind of got it.
To kind of piggyback on what Drew was saying, the Niners, I cannot imagine this team not like wrapping this shit up by Thanksgiving. Like that division. Like that division is so devoid of talent other than the Niners.
Bad.
Like even the Seahawks, I don't think any of us can imagine they're gonna do what they did. I mean, it's a great story, but it ain't gonna repeat that. I mean, the Cardinals look like they are the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
The Rams might be the second worst team.
Pretty bad too. They're pretty bad too. All right, biggest missteps or mistakes of the offseason.
I'll go last.
Okay. Okay. We could push that into our team discussion if you want to. What do you got, Mark? Your biggest mistake, or
I don't know if it was a mistake, but I'm confused by Juju going to New England.
Don't get it at all.
Like this, by the way, today, all sorts of, well, as we record this, a lot of news broke about like some friction between Belichick and Mac Jones. Right. I guess Mac Jones went to like his old Alabama coaches to get advice on how to fix the offense last year, and Belichick flipped out at him. So there's some weirdness there. Juju, his personality, is very fun loving. It's very like kind of out there. Just doesn't seem like the Patriot way.
Right.
I guess you could say the same. I mean, I'm comparing talent wise, but I guess you could have said the same thing about Randy Moss. He didn't seem like he'd fit in well with the Patriots, and he did. So there's potential there, but I just don't understand why he would want to come to this team where neither quarterback can really hit him in stride. So I feel like it was like a wasted move. Very confusing to me.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, he didn't make that much money. He was okay. Like, he had a decent Super Bowl performance, but he wasn't really that good last year. He only had like 600 yards with Mahomes as quarterback. Like,
right.
And he have a bunch of shit. Like, wasn't he always going after the Patriots in photos and stuff and like flipping off their fans? Like, he has all this social media content of him talking trash about the Patriots, and then he goes there. So, I mean, you got to go where you're going to get paid. But
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Mine is, I don't know if it's the fact that it's the Chargers. It's always the Chargers.
It's always the
They're
Chargers.
becoming my least favorite team in the NFL. If it's not the Patriots or the Bucks, my divisional teams, it's the Chargers, because they do stupid stuff all the time in games, and now they're doing weird stuff with Austin Eckler. Yeah. The guy wants to get paid, and they're not going to pay him, which I guess he's a running back, so it's tough to pay him. But like, you need people for Herbert to throw to. Like, he's the entire offense.
Right. Like, and his receiving core is injured as hell. Like, those guys get hurt all the time.
They're good, but they're never on the field at the same time.
Right. So you're gonna get his most productive guy out of there and still hope to do stuff in that division and all this. Like, I don't understand how we ended up here. And then there seems to be no other plan. Like, they didn't trade him for something. Like, they didn't trade him for DeAndre Hopkins or something. Like, there's no other move that's coming right now. So I was like, what are you doing? Like, just bring Eckler back. Like, you're not going to get anybody else, I don't think, unless you can move him for another player. But very confusing to me.
Yeah.
Chargers.
How old is Eckler's what, like 27? He's still got like good couple of years, right?
In that neighborhood, yeah. He's not close to the end.
Right.
And he's just so, like, he's 90%. He's like Marshall Faulk on the Rams. Like, that's what he is to this team. And it's just confusing to me, like, to have no plan to upgrade anything and not even entertain paying him is weird to me.
Well, and especially in a season where you were worse than you were the season prior.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They have shown no ability to learn from past mistakes. Like, this coach is the biggest idiot I think I've ever seen in the NFL, short of Pete Carroll. And it just...
Mark, need I remind you, there was once a coach of the Lions who left practice on a motorcycle.
Hey, he was inducted.
Hey, he's in the Fubar.
Yeah.
He's in.
That was an early induction.
Oh.
You guys suck. Yeah, no, I mean, it just, like, I don't understand how this guy kept his job, Staley, going into
that makes no sense.
And you're right, the team just doesn't seem to, it's kind of like the Ravens. They're ignoring the Lamar Jackson thing. They've done nothing to improve this team.
Right. Well, they can't. They're kind of stuck with the Lamar thing. Like, if they don't have Lamar, what do they do? Why are they improving?
But what, the Jets don't have Aaron Rodgers technically, but they've improved across the board.
Yeah, that's true. I just don't like and I heard the argument, like, Eckler doesn't fit into the new offense, so we're not going to pay him to play in the new, like.
Are you fucking running the wishbone? Like,
how does he not? What is this offense?
Which, by the way, just to go backwards, the Niners totally should have run the wishbone in that playoff game.
Quarterbacks that would have been
great.
Like, just get in there and run some single wing bullshit, and I bet you could score some points.
Yeah. You telling me Christian McCaffrey wouldn't be that excited to do it? He would be so bloated. He'd be like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely.
Why not? That was the offense my high school team ran when I played. The double wishbone.
Everybody's high school team ran.
The double wishbone. We never throw.
Yeah.
Like, third and 30.
We don't even have. Right. There were no receivers on the field. It was like it was 1950.
Very
all right, Drew. You want to do your biggest mistake or combine it with team checking?
Let me cross off a couple of mistakes that I didn't
All
like
right.
from other teams.
Let's see.
Before I then spend 5 minutes excoriating myself.
Okay.
I sad to say, Ryan, I didn't love Miles Sanders to the Panthers because it felt like you were paying more for the guy you already had.
Right. I didn't love that move either.
And I don't feel like the Steelers are a Keanu Neal and Patrick Peterson away from contention.
Yeah.
And I think they feel like they are.
Oof.
You know, for all you know, that's just put some butts in the seats signings.
Yeah.
Until that team determines its direction. But that felt kind of like a waste. And then the Raiders.
Okay, team check-in. We're gonna go through each one of our teams. Go ahead. You're gonna lead us off.
Let me preface this by saying that I don't like the Waller trade, but I understand it.
Okay. I do too.
Because the dude has played like 18 games in 3 years.
Right.
And at some point take your value for him because you know you're not going to re-sign him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that the Raiders did that I'm actually okay with is I am okay with them not re-signing Josh Jacobs to a long-term contract.
Yeah.
Because yes, he was great this past season. He's never been great like that before, and I am suspicious of anybody who is suddenly great in a contract year.
Most definitely. Yeah.
So
That's true.
Put the tag on him. See if he's willing to be great again.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else happened. And this begins. You might remember from my sole appearance on last year's show. I'm somewhat of a Derek Carr apologist.
Right.
And I still am. Like, the dude had 6 offensive coordinators in 9 years. And I feel like the Saints are going to get themselves a really great quarterback who, by the way, like is only 31 years old, even though it feels like he's 37.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
And to that end, I'm a little bit disappointed that the Raiders didn't make an effort to re-sign Jarrett Stidham because the reports were that like McDaniels thought Stidham was their guy, and I was like, well, good, maybe it'll cost both of them their jobs. But
the fighting Stidhams.
In the end, they go out and get Jimmy Garoppolo, which is fine. I got nothing against Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a handsome Italian man.
I must say, very handsome.
Yes, very handsome.
But I say that on as we record this on a Zoom with 2 other handsome Italian men.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Ryan. Murray's just not an Italian name. I can't spin that for you.
Fine.
That doesn't mean you're not handsome. It just means you're not Italian.
Right.
And so
you're handsome for an Englishman, which is the most backhanded comment anyone.
I got some Italian. My grandmother was Italian. I got some Italian in there.
Marino.
And so they go out and get Jimmy Garoppolo, which is fine in and of itself, but feels like the 75 cent on the dollar version of the guy you already had.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, the guy you just got is going to play fewer games than the guy you just got rid of.
Right.
And then everything that happened after that was like, Steve Spurrier is the prime example of this, but there's many examples of it where a college coach goes to the pros and like brings all his old dudes with him who he feels like are undervalued. Yeah. And so suddenly the Raiders have become Patriots West. I mean, for Christ's sake, they signed Brian Hoyer.
That was today, I think.
That's a clear indication that you're trying to rebuild the Patriots on the western side of the Continental Divide.
They signed Brian Hoyer.
And like Toby Myers, and they went and Jimmy Garoppolo, and they go and get all these dudes. And it's like, this is Josh McDaniels trying to prove that he's smarter than everybody else when he's not, because if these guys were that good, the Patriots wouldn't have gotten rid of them.
Right.
Like, we've seen this before with other Patriots assistants who go to other teams and take a bunch of Patriots with them. And it turns out the Patriots are willing to get rid of all those dudes because they suck.
Right.
And so now the Raiders are just Patriots West. And with the 7th overall pick, they're probably going to take that quarterback who's afraid of milk.
So I was
like,
going to ask you about that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was going to ask you, like, are you fine with them taking a quarterback if they can get one at 7?
No, because they're going to hose it up.
Okay.
What they need to do, the Raiders are in a position, and I understand that, like, this probably sounds fatalistic because 2 years ago this was a team that was in the playoffs that tried to let the Chargers go to the playoffs, and the Chargers screwed that up.
Yes. One of our personal favorite moments.
They tried to let them.
Like, you could almost see the coaches across the sideline, like,
Yeah.
And then it just all fell apart.
Staley's looking the other way for some reason.
But like, and then last year they just turned into same old Raiders again. And so it's like, this is a team, because they whiffed so badly over the course of the Mayock Gruden era, what they really need are young people who know how to play football. And in specific, what you need with the top 7 pick is a young dude who knows how to play football and will still know after you fire Josh McDaniels.
Okay, fair enough.
And the quarterback is not going to be that, because every time you get a new guy wants his new quarterback.
Good point.
So what do I want them to do at 7? Not draft a quarterback. And do I think they will? Honestly, no, because they wouldn't have paid Jimmy G a fortune. And
that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
not for nothing, wouldn't have gone and gotten Brian Hoyer to back him up if they were anticipating that roster spot was going to be filled by somebody else.
Right.
So what do I want them to do? I don't know. Don't take a quarterback. Just take a dude who's good at football. You need as many of those guys as you can get, particularly on the side of the ball that I'm not sure Josh McDaniels knows exists. But this is also the guy that went out and said, I'm taking Tebow in the first round because he's a winner. So everything is on the table. But in the meantime, I'm forced to, I guess, root for Patriots West. I don't know. I always fall back with my dad and my brother. Like, if the Raiders become that awful, I'll just become a Jets sympathizer until the situation improves.
Well, honestly, I like the Jimmy G move. I mean, you're right. It is more of a lateral thing, but you could do a lot worse in this day and age. Looking for a quarterback. I think
Carson Wentz is still out there.
Yeah, right. You could have had him.
I would still just having Garoppolo put you at least in the middle of the pack, which, as we talked about during the Orton line not that long ago, Drew, that's still fine. Like, in this day and age with quarterbacks, So I think with him there, he does give you a chance to win every week. You can't say that about every quarterback. So
does he give you a chance to win, or does he give you a chance to not lose?
I know
because the Raiders are not good enough to not lose just because their quarterback didn't lose.
But there's plenty of guys. No, it does, but there's plenty of guys who will sabotage themselves. Jimmy G won't do anything negatively to impact you. So I just, he did come in less than Carr, I guess, for the contract, so you save some money there. I mean, I'm not against that move. I don't like the Jacoby one, but I thought the Jimmy G one was actually kind of smart, knowing that Carr won. Well, that divorce was going to happen. So let's find somebody. And they found, I thought, a pretty decent one. I'm not against that move at all.
Yes.
We'll see how it plays out. Because the injury thing is probably the worst thing about it. It's like
Brian Hoyer is going to start a game for the Raiders this
year. He's gonna have to.
Probably more than one.
Yeah. And then what happens when you go on a 3-game losing streak with Brian Hoyer in there?
Then Jamarcus Russell's waiting by his phone.
He's back. Jamarcus is back.
Drink.
I'm ready.
Bigger than he was then.
Okay. It's not all bad, Raiders. It's not all bad for the Raiders. What about the Bills, Mark? Got anything to say about the Bills offseason?
Status quo. They didn't really.
Everybody's back.
Yeah, they didn't really. They re-signed Jordan Poyer, which I thought he was gone.
Poyer's gonna deal with the New York taxes or whatever he said.
He was a little. I almost want to put him on sad boy boat a little bit, because he was talking about he wanted to test free agency because he wanted $12 million a year, which nobody's going to pay a safety $12 million a year on contract. Maybe. If you add up incentives and bonuses, you'll get close. But he re-signed with the Bills for $4 million. I mean, it was
or if you're Ronnie Lott.
Yeah, right.
You have to be Jordan Poyer's great. He's not Ronnie Lott.
No, absolutely not. No. So I was glad they got him back. I like Jordan a lot. They lost Tremaine Edmonds, which is a loss. They haven't really filled it, so that's something to address. I think that's probably where they head in the draft. Although once again, do you take a middle linebacker in the first? I don't know. That seems little wasteful. You can typically get them in the second and third. But the only signing I liked that I really liked, I like Damian Harris as a running back. I thought he fits in well with Cook and with Nyheim Hines. They're kind of shifty. They're more elusive. They can catch. Damian can't catch, but he's kind of the thudder. He had he had that 2 years ago. He had 15 touchdowns. So I think that's a good move for them. But that also means Ken Dorsey has to realize he has to run the ball, which is a problem for Ken Dorsey because he's been traumatized by Najee Davenport and whatever running backs abused him when he was in college because he refuses to hand the ball off.
I knew that frayed nerve was going to come up somewhere.
Yes, it was.
As an interjection, I don't know the ins and outs. How much cap room do the Bills have, if any?
They have like 9 million with the rookies. That's going to eat up probably like 4. So got like
because
5
I
million.
get like Harris is a good signing for them. I kind of wanted them to pursue Zeke Elliott,
Oh,
but
yeah, I mean, but that could have been
they
a move
don't.
because it's a similar. I think Zeke is a little bit. Zeke is better, but like that plotting guy who can also like
Yes.
pass block. I think that's
Yep.
also a thing. So, they signed 2 new guards.
yeah. No more Isaiah McKenzie. Is that upsetting you?
I missed the face of the franchise, but he was just a little too inconsistent. He dropped some really horrendous balls, especially in that Bengals game. Yeah, they've they haven't gotten any better, but they haven't gotten any worse, which probably is not a good thing. But
no more Singletary, right? He's gone.
Yeah,
Devin Singletary's gone.
Texans, I think it
Texans.
was. So yeah. I'm not upset with anything they've done. I just I'm not blown away by anything. They're just kind of there. I want to see what they do with the draft. They got to replace the middle linebacker. They got nothing right now. They have a 7th round middle linebacker from Clemson on roster. That's about it from last year. So they need something there. So I feel like that's the logical move in the draft. And I guess late first round is fine. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Now it's time for the ballad of the 2023 Carolina Panthers. Here we go. We have traded up for the number 1 pick. Yay. We gave up TJ Moore. No. We signed Miles Sanders. No. Signed Adam Thielen. We got DJ Chark. Okay.
There you go. All right.
A couple other things. Number 1 pick. Mostly great. Very exciting.
Now, all of last year during this podcast, you were all about CJ Stroud. Are you still on the bandwagon? Do you want CJ to be the pick?
I'm glad Drew is here to help me answer this question because I was all CJ Stroud, mostly because he's bigger and can throw it better. And I'm afraid of Bryce Young being tiny and getting hurt. And I still stand by that, but I don't think I'd be upset if Bryce Young was picked first. How upset can I be at this point? As long as I don't have the guy who is afraid of milk and the other guy who's got a completion percentage like my chemistry test scores. Like, as long as I don't have those 2 guys, I think I'll be okay. What is your opinion on the number 1 pick? Who do you think is better?
Me personally, I think they're both nasty in their own right, and I mean that in a positive way.
Yeah.
The thing that counts against them, and this is a me problem, not a them problem, is the history of Alabama quarterbacks, not great.
Yeah.
The history of Ohio State quarterbacks, worse.
Yeah, right.
Worse. That said, like, if they're 1 and 1A, I would take the dude who is physically more imposing. And frankly, like, sometimes Alabama quarterbacks can be tough to judge because there is so much talent around them. And not that Ohio State isn't, but Ohio State doesn't have the pedigree of like ridiculous offensive linemen and wide receivers that Alabama's had the past 15 years. Like, to me, it's Stroud by a nose, but if you came away with Young, I think you're doing just fine.
Right. That's kind of how I feel.
Stay away from Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
I don't.
He's going to get a general manager fired, straight up.
Yes, he's very, very physically unbelievably exciting. However, in games in college, he was hideous in certain games. Like he should be dominating, and it was terrible.
And I'm always suspicious of a first-round quarterback who doesn't have like a signature win under his belt.
Yeah.
Like Ole Miss wasn't exactly tearing the roof off when Eli Manning was there, but they beat some people they weren't supposed to beat. Okay. And Richardson, I grant, Richardson beat Utah in their first non-conference game of the season last year, and that was a big deal. Utah ended up being a very good.
Yeah.
But like early season college football doesn't mean what conference play means, and it doesn't mean what late season play means. And like Florida got thumped by some teams that they had no business losing to.
Right.
So I'm always suspicious of a guy with no signature wins. Never mind his ridiculously awful completion percentage.
Yeah,
I mean, it took him a while to get a touchdown pass, right? Wasn't it like 6 weeks or something like that?
And by the way, his touchdown to interception ratio last year was like 16 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. By college standards, that ain't great.
No,
yeah, by college standards, right?
Even playing in a tough SEC, that's not great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is this guy is a permutation of the idea that general managers, I think, sometimes will say, this guy physically checks all of our boxes, so if he goes wrong, it's not our fault.
Yeah.
But you can't teach physical talent, but you apparently also can't teach completion percentage. and the company of names that's down there with him in terms of like college completion percentage is not good.
Yeah.
It's a who's who of awful talent, headlined by Kyle Bowler.
Oh
God. Hey, he had a gimmick.
Bowler.
He did have a gimmick. Thank you.
I've seen a lot of discussion about just lose again and try to get Caleb Williams, and it's like there's no guarantee you wouldn't be in the same position. There's no guarantee you wouldn't have a trade partner. I know he's probably better than both these guys on paper, but like I like the idea of going in and making a statement of like, we're taking one of these two guys. Yeah. He's our guy. If it doesn't work out, it might not. At least they went for it.
I could be mistaken. There's a whole season yet to be played, and guys undergo a lot of development. I don't think Williams is better than Stroud.
I don't think so either.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think so either. I mean, honestly, too, Caleb Williams, first game of the season, steps wrong, tears his ACL. You don't know. Like, I mean, you take, these guys are at least healthy when you draft them.
Yeah.
So,
and oh, by the way, lost in his New Year's bowl game to Tulane.
Yeah, right.
And there's more about the Tulane phenomenon that we'll get to later.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that was the Rose Bowl, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
Like, if you're USC, you can't lose in the Rose Bowl, essentially at home, to Tulane.
No,
you can't, and they did.
Yeah. You can't lose in
that's a lot of what Tulane did right, more than what USC did wrong. But even so,
right. That wasn't the game where he was limping around, was it? I watched one game where he was.
I don't think so.
He got like rolled up and he was limping, but he still played. I was impressed. I was impressed by his play, by Caleb's play when I saw that. They lost that game too. I think it was Utah, actually. I think it was Utah and USC. But
I don't think you can really go wrong though with Young or Stroud. They both also seem like really good people. Like I've seen interviews with both, and they both really love the game, and they both seem like really they're both really smart about it. They seem like good teammates, and I feel like that goes a long way too. So I think regardless of as long as it's one of those two, I think you're fine.
That's good. I just don't like the weaponry that we've got right now. I don't like relying on Adam Thielen. I like Adam Thielen, but like,
who is
he didn't look great
right now to Carolina? In Carolina,
who's the backup? It's Matt Corral, but
right.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's Andy Dalton. It's Andy Dalton.
Okay, so I mean, Dalton's probably going to start the first half of your season for you.
Yeah, he'll get pummeled and then they'll switch. Yeah. So I mean, a lot of it's fine. Frank Reich, I like what you're doing so far. I just
heard a rumor about Frank Reich once.
I hate losing DJ Moore. I hate it. I just hated that.
That's a separate episode, Mark.
We're just laying up inside jokes for Drew.
We should do a whole episode just about that rumor, but that's not for today.
Oh,
people aren't ready for that.
Hang on tight. All right. Around the league real quick. Bill Bidwell decided to go and get himself into hot water tonight.
Oh, yeah.
This was today. Cardinals owner.
Yeah.
Decided to, I guess he didn't decide. He was outed for cheating and doing all kinds of stuff. Gross misconduct, including cheating, discrimination, harassment. Former executive Terry McDonough.
Yeah.
Submitted to Roger Goodell. So
yeah, it was like I guess he came out and said like when their GM was suspended for drink. I guess I can't remember. It was a DUI. Yes, their GM got arrested. Whatever. They had burner phones that they were communicating with, like with the GM when he wasn't supposed to be there, and that's enough to make you lose some draft picks.
This team is just is a comedy and a farce, and they continue to be so.
How is DeAndre Hopkins not demanding a trade, or is he demanding a trade?
I think he is.
He's got to get out of there.
Yeah. He's not staying.
He cannot.
Or at the very least, I think they're smart enough to field offers for him.
Oh God! At this point,
he's gone.
He cannot stick around on that team. I
don't think they want to pay. Yeah, they don't want to pay him.
He's also like what 31. He's not like super young anymore. He has. If he wants a championship, this is it. Like, he could be with the Cardinals.
More owner shenanigans. Dan Snyder cleared out his compound there, and I think he's on his way out here.
Good riddance.
Goodbye to Dan Snyder.
It only took however many years.
Oh,
A
God.
million years. One more thing on around the league. Thursday night football being flexed. They want to flex Thursday night games. So from Sundays, flex to Thursdays to get better games on Thursday night, which seems
This is
really
such a
bad.
awful idea.
Like a bad idea.
Player safety, man.
Fans who are like traveling to games.
Oh, yeah.
on
I didn't even think about
Sunday,
that.
The game gets flexed out. Then what do you do?
Yeah, Thursday. I'm not going to
I
take
can't
days
stay
off
that
of work.
long.
Yeah,
My
right. I
flight
can't-
leaves on Monday.
Right.
Right? Oh, boy. They said, well, it might not happen. Yeah, after everybody's like, what the hell's wrong with you? Thanks, NFL.
I saw Goodell get an extension.
Yeah, right? He did. The Shield. For the Shield.
For the Shield.
He's back.
Did he? I know his contract is rarely public. Did he ask for life use of the private jet for him and his family again, like he did the last time? That was, you know what? You know what? You can ask for whatever you want.
Yeah.
Good on you for throwing it out there.
Worst they're going to say is no.
Try.
Plus, that's a hell of a bargaining position to start from, right?
Yeah.
Like, throw out a number. I want $25 million a year, and I want life use of a private jet for me and my entire nuclear family. Because you start way up there, so that then when they balk at that, you're like, fine, don't give me that. Just give me $40 million a year. And they're going to be like, great.
Yeah, we're excellent negotiators.
We did it. Look at us. All right. Category Predict the Future. The draft is coming up in 3 weeks. We talked about it. Give me, you got a prediction? You got any things you think might happen draft night? And whether it be picks, trading up,
I'm going to
Hopkins
throw this
moving.
out there. I think 5 quarterbacks go in the first round.
Really?
I think Hooker from Tennessee. I think he sneaks
That's not
in.
crazy.
Yeah, at the late for I in my opinion, you're going to get a team who maybe didn't get a quarterback in that first part of the draft. From the second round, trade back up into the late first round and grab him.
Ravens.
Because I think there's potential there, and he does. I think I actually kind of like him a lot. Well, I like him a lot more than Richardson. Also seems like a good human too, which I like. So I'm going to say 5 quarterbacks.
5 first-round quarterbacks. Okay. All right. Do they go like? I don't think it's going to be 4 for 4, right?
What you mean, like the top first 4 all
first 4
quarterbacks?
quarterbacks,
No,
like people are saying now?
No,
like Arizona trades out and it's 4 quarterbacks.
I don't think Arizona's smart enough to trade out. I think they're going to take that defensive end, who's a good player, by the way. With
that dude is the truth, by the way.
He's excellent, but it's like it's like when the Broncos took Von Miller when they had the second overall pick. It's like, well, who else are you going to pick? Like that's the most obvious choice. Yeah, of course you're going to do it. So.
Yeah. Okay.
I admit I'm stealing this because I saw it somewhere else, but I saw it and I said that makes entirely too much sense. The Colts will trade up 1 pick to draft Anthony Richardson.
Wow. Well, yeah.
That fits their mold entirely too well.
It does.
They've struck out so badly on free agent quarterbacks in the last 3 years that like they're desperate to land their guy in the draft, and this guy is off the charts. And they're going to be like, "Yep, we're going to make this guy our guy."
Oh, Drew, I love that idea.
This is a team that brought in a coach who'd never coached, who then subsequently beat the Raiders.
I forgot about that.
I didn't.
I never will.
Just add it to the list.
You didn't finish that story because they also didn't bring that guy back after all that bullshit.
Yeah.
And hired a different coach.
Not to get off on a tangent. I will never. The wound of the Tuck rule will never heal. But right. I felt 2% better about it the next morning after watching Chandler Jones run through Mac Jones at the end of that. Anyway, we're getting far afield.
I think we voted on that being the best play of this last season. That it was like tied because that and Ezekiel Elliott being sent to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah,
in that one play.
Yes. Greg's favorite play was Ezekiel Elliott getting run over.
But yeah, the Colts, like, they've struck out so badly on quarterback, and it's the one thing that they desperately need, although they let half their defense go in free agency because they're the Colts and they don't believe in defense and haven't since 1968. But so anyway, but
No,
Yeah, they're gonna move up one pick to make sure that they can get Richardson, and they're gonna do it.
All I can think about, Drew, is like that photo op of Irsay next to Richardson. Like that to me makes you can almost envision it like already because it's such an obvious play.
Irsay will be
I
wearing
never
a
even thought about
sparkly
it
bowling
though.
shirt.
Yeah, right. Just
I like that.
here.
Let me just clean that up real quick.
You want some?
Yeah.
Here's mine. Will Levis is going to drop way more than people think.
Okay.
Will Levis is sort of the Kenny Pickett of this draft, right?
Yeah,
like
he's
if he
going to be in like the
if he
20s.
doesn't go in the top 3, where the hell does he go?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And especially because he seems to be, not the least effect, I think, because he played for Kentucky, but like, no, I don't know that anybody really has a grip on what he is.
Right.
You
He
know,
can throw
like
deep.
I watch a lot of football, and a lot of that is college football, and like I don't recall walking away from this season with a distinct impression of what Will Levis's abilities are.
That's bad.
Right.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
scary. I think he's going to drop.
I really don't know anything about him. I know that he's, like I said, projected to go, but like I don't really know his personality. I don't think I've ever seen an interview with him. I don't know what type of leader he is. I don't know a lot about him.
He's got a weird personality. I
mean-
listened to his combine interview and like not even the milk thing.
Okay,
Like,
he is afraid of dairy.
He's afraid of milk. Yes, that's true. He said that in an interview. But
without looking, does anybody know, was he a transfer portal kid?
Oh, I don't know. He feels like he is, isn't he?
Because if the kid's that good, why does he end up at Kentucky?
Right.
Like, and I understand sometimes you can get dudes from smaller schools like that, but there's a difference between being from like a good mid-major program and a bad large program. Like it's not like he's coming out of like Mississippi State or NC State or like one of kind of those like middling can occasionally be good Power 5 programs. Like Kentucky is a bottom feeder.
Mm-hmm.
He was a transfer portal guy. Looks like Penn State is where he was.
There we go. That makes way more sense.
Yep.
Transferred to Kentucky in 2021.
Couldn't beat out those Penn State quarterbacks ahead of him.
No name.
Not exactly megastars over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Why.
Listen, Joe Burrow transferred from Ohio State. Like these,
you're right.
Sometimes you don't
happen.
think playing time is in the future for you when you move to another school.
Right. Can I count Joe Burrow as a good Ohio State quarterback for my CJ Stroud argument here? Okay. All right. Moving on to our segments. Do we want to do an off-season sad boy vote?
See, I don't know. Do we have enough sad people?
Yeah. I know we have one. We definitely have one sad boy.
Who's your one?
Jordan Love. Definitely on the sad boy vote of the off season.
Right, that's a good one.
I don't know if there's any other. We get three others. I don't know if there's anybody else that belongs in there.
Like who's been
Jordan Poyer?
Just counting a lot. He had like a larger briefcase that he was going to put all the money in, and it's just like half full. That's fine. There's two.
Okay, all right, we got two. I don't know if there's anybody else. Lamar? Is Lamar sad?
Lamar might be sad.
Yeah, Lamar's a sad one. By default, I just want to say Russell Wilson, just because he was so perpetually on the sad boy boat last year.
I love how every story you hear about Denver is he's now going to be bullied every day by Sean Payton. Every time I see a story, it's like, oh, he ain't doing that shit. You better shape up. Clean your room, Russ. Like every single day, there's a story about it. Stop bothering Drew Brees. Leave him alone.
The spray bottle. Get away.
Get out of here.
All right. I'm fine with Russell again.
Okay. All right.
It's an ignominious end to a great career.
Yeah, my God. I mean, what a crash. What a crap. I can't think of anybody who did such a 360 turn in the eyes of the common fan more than Russell Wilson from one year to another.
Did his body, like a body switch movie, him and Geno Smith, did that actually happen? Like an old school, like
this is the subtext of the whole thing. If Geno Smith has another great year, that diminishes Russ all the more.
Oh my God, does it ever?
Right.
Now I don't think that's gonna happen. I think the league is gonna catch up to Geno pretty quick here. But
I think so too. Good story though, and good for him for getting money, man. He just took care of his grandkids on that contract. So
he's good.
Yeah.
All right, Drew, give us your college football segment here. We need a name for it. I don't know what we're going to call it, if we do it every week or not. But
there's a few, and I only bring it up, obviously we're way in advance of the season, but spring football has started. Teams are already having things. There's a few interesting storylines to watch. One of them is facetious. The others are reasonably serious. Which is, first of all, Colorado with Deion Sanders.
Yes.
Because it's not to say that we're headed for Kingsbury territory, but there's a lot of oxygen being spent on a guy who didn't win his conference.
Oh.
And he is an unbelievable recruiter, and we'll see what happens. And Colorado, like, their athletic director is clearly desperate and handed him the keys to the Ferrari and said, do whatever you need to do, because Colorado's been a laughingstock for a long time. If you watched them last year, they looked like an FCS team.
Wow.
Like, and so they go and make the biggest splash of the offseason by going to get Deion Sanders, like whatever player transfer portal, whatever. Deion Sanders going to Colorado was the biggest splash of the offseason. Brings his son with him at quarterback. And we'll see if that translates to Power 5 level material. His recruiting class is really good. And he's great at all that stuff, but he didn't win anything at Jackson State.
Yeah.
So, but he also wasn't there very long. So, if he had stayed there for a full career, would he have won a bunch of titles? Probably. So in the meantime, we're spending a lot of oxygen on Deion Sanders, but that dovetails into the larger storyline, which is, I don't think we're done with conference realignment yet.
Ooh, okay.
There was, and the fires have kind of simmered for now, but I think there was generally this belief that college football was headed to four super conferences, right? There'd be like an East Coast, a West Coast, Upper Midwest, Lower Midwest. All that got thrown out the window when USC and UCLA decided to play all of their away games 2 time zones over. And so part of the problem is, like, everybody like has a travel partner, right? And part of the problem, if you're the Pac-12, is nobody wants Colorado. And so, like,
nobody likes Millhouse.
Like, relative to the rest of your conference, they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Like, their whole conference is like Arizona, California, and the Pacific Coast, and then you've got Colorado. I don't think we're done yet. Like, the Big 12, say what you will about what the teams they've brought in. They've single-handedly emasculated the American Conference, who used to claim Power 6 status. But now the 3 teams that they loved that would have made them Power 6, Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati, have all now gone to the Big 12. To me, it makes too much sense for West Virginia to give the Big 12 the finger and try to get back into the ACC and reunite with some of their Big East brethren.
Right.
Again, you run into the problem: does anybody want West Virginia? But if you're the Pac-12, like, you've got to make a move to survive, because the ACC is a down conference right now outside of Clemson. But the ACC also has Florida State and Miami, and to a lesser extent Virginia Tech. Like, there's some real historical programs in there. If you're the Pac-12 and you lose USC and UCLA, those are your 2 most marketable programs. Oregon be damned. And Oregon could just as easily go with them to the Big Ten. One of the more interesting pieces in this is Stanford. I don't think anybody wants Stanford, especially because of their football prowess, though they are a historical program, but because they raise the academic stature of your conference, and because it's hard to describe. Stanford is that school you want in their conference because it fills the trophy case and all the other stuff. Like, if you want your conference to look prestigious because it wins a national title in women's golf, go get Stanford.
Okay, so they're like good at other. Like, okay, I got you. I think track and field, for some reason, I always remember Stanford being particularly good in.
Stanford is nationally competitive at all of the non-revenue sports. Literally all of them. Softball, baseball, tennis, whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, that's sort of the trophy. That's the school you put in the trophy case. Like, oh, look at how great we are in all these different sports as a conference, even though it's all coming from one school. So I don't think we're done with conference realignment yet, and I'm curious to see, like, what the Big 12 does, if anything, to try to kind of put the banana in the tailpipe of Texas and Oklahoma. Because, by the way, if Texas gets their shit together, they could well win this conference as a lame duck champion.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow. This like, what's the Big 12 equivalent of the Montreal screw job, so that Texas can't take the belt with them to the SEC?
Like how Arch Manning is Bret Hart in this scenario.
Yeah, yes,
he
absolutely.
is. Oh
And
man.
the other thing I'm watching, which I don't think is going to come to anything, but has been at least mildly entertaining, is the sudden friction between Alabama football and Alabama basketball.
Oh, I'm not
Because
familiar with this. What's
because
going on?
at this point, so unfortunately, it delves into some bad territory. Everybody's familiar with the story of the Alabama basketball player Brandon
Yeah.
Miller and the
Oh,
whole murder
yes.
investigation and the text messages and the car and the gun and the whole bit. And their coach, Nate Odom, not to be confused with former Buffalo Bills safety Nick Odoms. Nate Odom, by now everybody knows he's given his famous like blow it off, just wrong, a good kid in the wrong place at the wrong time speech.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Saban, just a couple of weeks ago, punished some kid for doing something, a much lesser offense than anything implicated in the Alabama basketball program. And in the resulting press conference, they were like, "Why'd you punish this kid?" And Nick said, "Because there's no such thing as being in the wrong place at the wrong time." And so this and this is strictly speculation on my part. I've not heard this anywhere. I don't know anything about this, but I find it hard to believe that at some point after the Alabama basketball situation unfolded, there wasn't a meeting between Saban and Odoms and the athletic director in Saban's office where he told them, "You guys get your shit together."
Yeah, I can see that.
Right.
You're ruining the prestige of this university, and therefore it like impacting me. Like that's you're hurting my image, and I think obviously Saban pays a lot of attention to that. So
and I don't think I'm not under the illusion that Alabama's football team is a bunch of choir boys, but I do think if you watch Saban's history, he's not afraid to cut a guy if he feels like it's like the mafia. He's not afraid to get rid of a guy if he feels like that guy has crossed him. He's suspended guys or cut them from the team for all kinds of different disciplinary reasons. So he's trying to maintain that sort of image of Alabama as that kind of school to send your kids to. So, like I said, I don't think it's going to come to anything, but the sudden interest of Nick Saban in Alabama basketball, which I don't think Bear Bryant could have told you that Alabama had a basketball team. It's sort of an interesting story to watch.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
With Saban, I hate Saban. I think he's just joyless fuck. I just, he doesn't take any enjoyment out of what he does. He does run a clean program. I can't think of any like really truly horrendous Bama players that he didn't like immediately punish or get off the team. Yeah, so there is that.
The only thing you can hold against him is some of his guys have done really dumb stuff after they've left his program.
Sure.
Yeah. Now maybe that speaks to the level of discipline that he runs in his program.
Right.
But he has had some dudes who've gotten into some real trouble because Henry Ruggs was an Alabama guy, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yes,
he was. But once again, you're right after he got out of there.
Yep. And this folds into the whole Joe Mixon thing, right? Like, is there stuff going on in Alabama that the local police have decided not to care about?
Yeah.
That's true. And this is the last blanket college football prediction I'll make is like, don't be surprised if you see another school like Tulane take down some big dogs. Okay. Because we're still in that period. Like, if you look at Tulane from last year, their roster was loaded with like 5th and 6th year guys who were using their extra year of COVID eligibility. Mm-hmm. So they had a whole bunch of graduated dudes on their roster whose sole interest was staying in shape and playing football, had no other obligations. And we're still in that for another couple of years. And that benefits these mid-major teams more than anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Don't not that there's going to be a Cincinnati or a UCF that year that they say they won the national title, or even another Tulane in the Rose Bowl or whatever. But like, there's a lot of good mid-major teams out there. Some of them are jockeying for position to try and realign with larger conferences. Don't be shocked if you see some upsets from mid-major teams.
Wow.
Also, just to touch on this real quick, you obviously there's a lot of moving and shaking in the major conferences. A part of me loves when a conference loses so many teams and brings in conferences like teams from other like lower tiers. I love to see who makes these, who fills in those spots. It's always really fun to me. That's how like we got Old Dominion, like kicking around. So
come on in, Oral Roberts. You got a team?
Right.
Well, listen, there's a potential reality here where at some point Appalachian State joins, I don't know, the ACC or the SEC or the Big 12 or somebody. Like, not that that's even a rumor at this point, but that could happen at some point in the future. And you're talking about a program that was built off the fact that they beat Michigan famously once.
That's right.
And like, And there's a whole bunch that goes into that. Like, they were the 2-time defending FCS champ. Like, they were not a cupcake game. They were just an FCS team playing at the big house. But like, they used that to make the jump to D1, and now they're the best team in the Sun Belt Conference. Like, don't be shocked if somebody someday comes courting them if as conferences realign. Like, they're a real program now.
And also, like, people know about them. Like, it's not like you are bringing, you know, a Georgia Southern up, you know, like. I mean, I'd love to see that. I think that's great. I always watch when Appalachian State is playing. So
yeah, I've been to Georgia Southern's campus, by the way. It's really nice.
Is it really nice?
Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice campus.
Great campus. Okay, all right, Mark. Time for a football Fubar. First one of 2023.
Season 2 of football.
Season
Fubar.
2.
Yep. Where we celebrate the dumbest and most idiotic, you know, players, teams in football. Season 1 had the Love Boat. It had Najee Davenport.
Yeah.
It had our first ever in-season induction of Nathaniel Hackett to football.
Oh boy.
Fubar. Yep.
Can't hack it. He's in there.
We had some pretty good ones. So, you know, we're talking about free agency today, right? So what about one of the biggest busts in NFL free agent history who also doubles down as a real shitbag of a human being? So Albert Hainsworth, come on down.
Oh God.
Literally, the name that came up in my head was Bill Romanowski. But anyway,
he's another one I got to do. I got to get on Romo.
He's on there. Yeah, he's on there for something.
Remember when he used to send his poop away to a factory to be analyzed? Anyway,
we're
not here to talk about Bill Romanowski.
Yeah, we'll save that for another.
He'll be in there. He'll be in there.
So good old Albert started his career at the University of Tennessee, where he was, absolutely dominated the SEC competition, was all SEC, declared after his junior year for the 2002 draft. He was only 20 years old and was considered basically a can't-miss prospect on a defensive line that year had a lot of DTs go in that first round. He was considered one of the best. He didn't have to go far because the Titans drafted him at number 15. Still, though, funny, he was drafted at number 15, 4th defensive tackle taken that year. Seems kind of strange. Very heavy on the DTs that year. Was obviously well known for his run stopping ability. Things went pretty good for Albert his first couple of years in the NFL. There was a weird situation though in the 2003 training camp. So it was his second year in. He got into a fight with center Justin Hartwig for quote blocking him. How dare you? How dare you, sir? Which he responded by kicking Hartwig on the chest when he was down on the ground. It's probably a one-off, right? He'll never do anything like that ever again. So in 2006, Albert gained NFL infamy by getting into a fight with Cowboys center Andre Garrard after a Cowboys touchdown. When Garrard was on the ground, Hainsworth ripped off his helmet and then tried to stomp on his head. Garrard rolled out of the way of the first stomp, but Albert came back with a second one and got him on the forehead for a pretty gnarly gash that was about an inch and a half, or about a half an inch away from his eyeball. So thank God he rolled away at the last possible second, because that could have been even worse. Once again, how dare you block Albert Hainsworth, which is apparently the reason all this happened. So Hainsworth's with hit was a 15-yard penalty, which caused him to throw his own helmet, and which made his future football Fubar inductee head coach Jeff Fisher pull him off to the sideline and then bench him for the rest of the game. The NFL quickly acted due to widespread disgust from every team, every owner, every on-air personality. They suspended Albert for 5 games that year. It was the longest suspension at the time for an on-the-field incident, which I found out beat out the previous record of 3 games when Packers nose tackle Charles Martin body slammed Bears quarterback Jim McMahon during a game. Let's be honest, McMahon probably deserved that shit.
No.
So, Albert did his time. Went through the next year. There were a lot of rumors the Titans were to cut him, but because of his contract and because it was a one-time thing, even though he was kind of being a dick, they still kept him around. But he was alienating everybody in the locker room at this point. He refused to dress with the team in the locker room, would dress out in the hallway, didn't want to be around them at all, would constantly criticize his coach. So 2008 rolls around, his contract's up. The Titans say, get out of here. They just let him walk. So here we go. We have an immensely talented player, but he's a massive asshole with a history of on the field and off the field, which we'll get to in a second, problems. Locker room cancer, hated by his peers and his own coaches. Type of guy Dan Snyder just can't say no to. So, Redskins signed Hainsworth to a 7-year, $100 million contract on the first day of free agency. Hainsworth rewarded them.
If you will.
What's that?
It's an Otto Porter contract, if you will.
Yes.
Otto's back.
Hainsworth rewarded them by immediately criticizing the defensive scheme he was asked at the introductory press conference, and then got into fights with subsequent coaches Jim Zorn and Mike Shanahan. He refused to participate in training camp, was in horrendous physical condition, and refused to change into this to talk about once again, just like in Tennessee, refused to change in the same locker room as his own teammates in Washington. Hainsworth lasted 1.5 years out of his 7-year deal before even the Redskins got tired of him and cut him. He bounced around to New England where he pissed off Belichick. Belichick cut him. He went to Tampa Bay. They cut him. So on the field, not great. This is how his career kind of petered away. But off the field, he also collected a series of offenses such as reckless driving, failure to pay child support, domestic abuse, and my personal favorite, reckless boating.
Reckless boating.
So congratulations, Albert. Come on down. We promise we won't block you on the way to the podium and collect your first football Fubar and the first football Fubar of the season.
So it's funny you mentioned him because I was at his first Redskins game. I believe it was Redskins Cowboys Sunday Night Football.
Okay.
Donovan McNabb, right, was also on that team. Am I getting that right? I think he was also on that team. And during warm-ups, Albert was on one side of the field and the rest of the team was warming up on the other side. They were literally separated. He wouldn't warm up with everybody in the line.
I just love how absolutely hated he was. He had so many red flags, and Snyder's like, "It's my man right there."
Yeah, that was their opening game.
Yeah,
and I believe they won that game, and that was hilarious because as we were leaving, which is a brutal trek, if you leave FedEx Field and try to get back to civilization, it's horrible. Every Redskin fan was like, "Super Bowl, Super Bowl." I don't think so, guys.
Yeah, oof.
I don't think so, guys. Sorry.
Super
Bowl after one game.
Out of abject curiosity, who were the other DTs who went in front of him?
So I actually looked it up. I'll read it off to you. I had it pulled up. Hold on, and it's nobody good.
Oh.
All right. I think. Okay, so here we go. So,
nobody good.
Ryan Sims went 6 overall to the Chiefs.
Nope.
John Henderson went to the Jaguars at number 9. He was good.
Yep.
Wendell Bryant.
God, him and Hainsworth were on the same defensive line at Tennessee.
Yes, they were. You're right.
Wow.
You're right. Wendell Bryant went
Don't remember him.
to the Cardinals.
No.
And then Albert Hainsworth, and then trying to think if there's any other defensive tackles. No, not in the first. Not in the first.
What a guy.
Clinton Portis.
Love him.
Oh, that's a sad story.
Yes, it is. The U. We have a lot of fun with that U squad from 1999.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them in there. Yeah. The whole squad might make it. Also, we make fun of Ken Dorsey, who was also a U guy later. Did we do Shockey?
There's a whole chapter in the back on Jeremy Shockey and his inability to do math.
Yeah. I don't think we've done Shockey. That story alone is worth a Shockey induction.
Oh God, Shockey. Okay, I think we've done it. We've covered it all.
Yes,
so
we have.
I don't think we're ready for game balls right now. Maybe after the draft we can do a game ball kind of situation.
We can do like best draft. Yeah,
maybe we can do that.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're ready to make a decision on that yet for off seasons, but we'll be back after the draft. That'll be our next episode, and then we'll kind of figure out what we're doing for the rest of the off season. But before we get out of here, we got to plug stuff. So plug away. Got any plugs?
I don't know. We do this pretty funny TGIF podcast every now and then.
New one out today.
Yes.
Or, the day before, whenever you get this. On celebrity directors of TGIF shows that included Jason Bateman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that Jason Bateman directing a Family Matters episode. Yes, you heard me right.
It was a weird one.
It was a weird one because it's Family Matters. So
Go
check that out. Anything else? Any other plugs? Good?
Oh.
All right. We're getting out of here. We'll see you after the draft. Good luck. The draft is like Christmas for me because my team never wins.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. All right. Peace out, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.